So I call to order the March 14th meeting of the Environment Committee. All members are present. Do I have a motion to approve minutes from our last meeting?
I move to approve the minutes from last meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. The minutes are, well, we take a vote, I guess, because that's what we do here. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And moving on to item number 2 is the NPDES. You know, I'm going to mess it up, the acronym, and I believe it is on to you, Engineer Beakley.
Absolutely. Yes, microphone. Thank you, Chair. This is time of the year we get to come to Environment Committee and share our annual update of our NPDES program and what we did in the year prior. So right now, this presentation will be looking at what we accomplished in 2023. And
what point of order, can you just call out the acronym just because I'm being a comedian?
Yep, I was getting there. You beat me by a second. Absolutely. So NPDES is National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, a really long name for just meaning we want clean waterways for waters of the state. Being a local jurisdiction, our runoff is diverted to local creeks, streams, and the Puget Sound. So we are regulated under this federal requirement. In our state, this is managed by the Department of Ecology. So we are a phase 2 city, meaning we're not a county and we're not a larger city like Seattle, Tacoma. They're on a separate permit. We're with all the other cities smaller than Tacoma and Seattle under a phase 2 permit. Ours came in later in 2007. We're now on our 3rd iteration of our NPDES permit requirements. And we're in the last year of that 3rd iteration. In August, we get a new permit with new requirements, which will be coming later in the year to the committee to present on. Let's see here. So I'm going to walk through sort of what the different components that come with this permit. What are the requirements we have as a city? And then I'm going to pass that over to Michael Posey, who's our engineering technician in surface water, who coordinates a lot of these programs, to walk through the accomplished we did this year. So, yeah, like I said, we're in the 2019 to 2024 phase 2 permit. There are 8 different categories, 8 different sections of the permit with a host of requirements in each one. I'm going to briefly walk through those. So starting with the number 1 is stormwater planning. A few components to this one. The largest effort of this requirement is producing basin plans. So looking at different drainage basins in the city, or different really creeks is what you could split them up into. Ecology wants us to rank them by priority, need, demographic, and select one and develop a basin plan for actions. So Michael can I'll walk through some of that in a bit. The other aspect of that requirement is encouraging and promoting the use of low impact development, BMPs. So BMPs is best management practices. Low impact development is keeping stormwater on site, not letting it go to the city public system, to the creeks, to the streams, which reduce pollution. So that's infiltrating it on site and dispersing it on your site. And basically making sure as we adopt new codes as a city, we are not blocking and prohibiting the use of low impact development BMPs. So that's just another element that ecology wants us to keep a lookout, that we don't pass a new transportation plan, for example, that would stop a homeowner from doing a permeable pavement driveway or something like that. Brief introduction of category number 2, which is public education and outreach. This is where ecology puts an onus on municipalities to reach out to the public and get them engaged. So 1, we want to educate the public on stormwater, general awareness, what is stormwater, why it's important, how it leads to pollution. And then also, how can we get them engaged? How can we get them to partner with us? How can we get them to volunteer? How can we get them to feel like this is their, they can be sort of hand in hand with the city to promote clean water, and to promote salmon in the sound, to promote orca health. Sort of these larger components that we're all fighting as a region. And then again, at a high level, going to number 3, public involvement and participation. This is again centered at the public, but getting them engaged in document review. As we produce basin plans, as we produce our annual reports, as we produce our plan for each year, reaching out to them. And what we'll see in the next agenda item is we'll walk through what that looks like and how we accomplish that. Utility mapping and documentation. So this is what you see online when you go to our maps. You can navigate to our stormwater map. And Ecology has various things they require us to map to keep updated annually and to go out and find new things to map, which Michael will talk about in a minute. Number 5, illicit discharge detection and elimination. That's a fancy title to say we're looking out for spills. We're looking out for people that have connections to our system, like degreasers, car washes tied into the storm system, and making sure we eliminate those boundaries. Or if someone spills oil in their driveway, as small as that, we can help respond to that. Number 6, controlling runoff from construction sites. That the title in is of itself is we review construction plans in-house to make sure anyone developing in the city is doing erosion control, sediment control on their site, and then we follow up with inspections to make sure they're actually implementing their plan that we approved, installing their silt fences, their silt socks, putting straw on their site, you name it, we're out there making sure they do it. 7, operations and maintenance. This is probably the largest component of the permit that affects us as a city, where they require annual inspections of all our private, that too, but all our public facilities, so ponds, tanks, vaults, oil water separators, all of our catch basins, over 5,000 basins, and also private facilities. They make sure we inspect our private facilities built after 2009 that were installed in the city, and making sure those are maintained, clean, not polluting. And lastly, number 8, source control. So this is centered around businesses in our city and making sure those businesses are following their best practices to not pollute. So that was a long introduction, but at a high level, but I'm gonna pass it over to Michael to dive a little deeper in each of those categories. And
You're gonna do one still?
I'm gonna do one still, to talk about where we're at and what we accomplished in 2023. So I'll share one that's something I was deeply involved in. So again, that's our basin plan that we completed last year. So we went through a large effort with a consultant to dig all the data out that we had and Ecology had, and all the regional data on all our basins, compiled it into a matrix and ranked our basins and looked at opportunities that we're doing in the city for development and how we could get the most overlap between what we're already doing and what Ecology is requiring us to do. And through all that, we landed and went through committee, went through council, got this plan adopted on Lower Massey and Barnes Creek as the basin we selected for our first basin plan. We have adopted actions to do 2 retrofit projects in the short term, within 9 years, and a long term, 2 more retrofit projects 20 years out. So these are taking historical facilities like bioswales or stormwater treatment ponds that are outdated, that were built under old codes that wouldn't meet today's standards, and bring those up to today's standards, retrofitting them, essentially. So we also highlighted actions to focus different elements of our program within that basin. So targeted inspections when it comes to looking for spills, targeted inspections when looking at outfalls, and, looking at what we could do to protect forested areas. Now, this likely will have carryover citywide as we explore these targeted measures for this basin alone. We're not forgetting other basins in the city. Those are priorities as well. This one is just leading as an example, so we can help look at these other areas. And Ecology sneak peek at what's coming, more basin plans. So we're gonna select other basins to create basins plans for in the coming years. So, yeah, hop into number 2. Now I'll pass it to Michael.
All right, pretty monotone, so I want to get this close. All right, so public education and outreach, I've made some notes. So last year was my first year a part of the NPDS permit, so pretty proud of what we did. For general awareness, we are a member, not members, but we participate in the ad campaign that the Puget Sound Starts Here ad campaign produces. And they pretty much raise awareness on everyday actions that you can do to help prevent pollutants going into the waterways of the Puget Sound region. One the 3 of you might be most aware of is our City Currents program. Quarterly, we like to put out stormwater articles. Most recently last year, we did pet waste, prepare for rain, just things that you can do, clear your basins and whatnot. Household maintenance practices. There's a lot of people who don't realize that the suds from their cars, like washing their cars, go into the catch basins, and that's obviously not that good for the storm system. So we're looking for Stormfest volunteers last year, and we are this year. It's always a struggle, so that was one of the articles. And then storm drain marker program, which we'll get to in a little bit. We also offer car wash kits. Last year we had 6 checked out. They all went to North Hill Espresso, so thank you for supporting us, North Hill Espresso. A lot of booster clubs, cancer awareness, Rainier, swim. We provide them with a great hook, a sump pump, a hose, safety cones, just anything that they might need to prevent any of the suds from entering the stormwater system. And last year, for the first time in I think 2 or 3 years since the pandemic, we had our first in-person Stormfest event, which was great. It was chaotic, but it was great. It's a field-based stormwater education event for Highline Public School 6th grade students at the beach park. So 1,200 students came down. Most of our committee, it was our first year, so it was a lot of students. It was 8 of us, a part of the committee, so we were sweating, we were running around, but it was worth it. And we'll talk about that coming up as well. We have the event scheduled this year, and we'll have a committee update in July for that. For behavior change, we have the BEA, Environmental Business Outreach, which we commonly refer to as the Spill Kit program. BEA is a contractor for the city, and they visit businesses and they conduct training for the staffs. And if the staff or if the business doesn't have a spill kit for, in case there is a spill, they provide a free kit. And if their kit needs refreshing, they help refresh the kit. So last year, they supplied 15 businesses with spill kits, first-time spill kits. So that says a lot for this program being around for 10 years. So we're happy to continue to do that. For the last 3 years, we've been a part of the dumpster outreach group. And so a few years back, we were monitoring different businesses that we noticed their lids were either propped open or kept open. And after a few weeks, we went and offered to put a keep it shut sticker on their dumpsters. And we're pleasantly surprised, but also happy that it seemed to make an impact. So this last year, with our partnership with BEA, you're going to hear that name quite a bit because they've been very resourceful to us. When they've been doing these spill kit program outreach, we asked, hey, if you see a dumpster open, would you let us know? And they've been doing a good job with helping us there. And then last year we had one stewardship program in action, and that was the storm drain marker program. We did have one volunteer sign up, but in addition we did hand out an extra 500 stencils to 3 extra volunteers. So what this is a volunteer contacts us. We provide them with a aerial map, a GIS map of basins that might not have these little stencils, and they'll go around and mark off the map any catch basin that they do end up marking with these little stencils, and we provide them with a little adhesive. So we did get one new volunteer for that, but again, 3 citizens in total have kits actively checked out. It's kind of in a maintenance mode now. It's been active for 10 or so years. So with snow plowing, and I'm sure someone's stealing one of these stencils here and there, we have the citizens going around and just doing checkup and maintenance mode. For public involvement and participation, Tyler kind of covered this. This is a pretty kind of basic one, but every year the Stormwater Department likes to involve the public in the development and implementation of the Stormwater Management Plan. Just a way to get the citizens involved and their voices heard and able to participate in the planning for the coming year. We invite them through a couple means. One is the city current that I believe was actually in the recent one on February 18th. Just letting them know we're wanting your comment. Let us know what you have in mind. Let us know what you think of what we have in mind as well. And also, it's on the website. Any citizen can go on there and review it. Utility mapping and documentation. This was actually one of the reasons why I was hired and something I do on a regular basis. But every year we like to maintain and update our ArcMap GIS software. That's commonly done through new developments. So once a home or a development's completed, I go in and I map all of the stormwater utilities. The city's imperfect, the map isn't perfect, but so I'll get updates from our field crew. Whenever they find something that might be mapped incorrectly, we'll correct those as they come in. And one of the permit requirements last year that we did complete, we had to map all of the known outfalls in the city, the material type, the conveyance diameter, and then if we were lucky, just snap a picture of it. So that was completed last year. For illicit discharge detection and elimination, we did have 30 spills that we investigated and reported internally and to Ecology. These mostly come through our stormwater maintenance crew who are active around the city on a daily basis. But we also rely on self-reporting from concerned citizens and then also mobile franchise businesses. Every year, the stormwater maintenance team is required to inspect 12% of our stormwater facilities in what is called field screening. As you can see on the document, we exceeded that by 2 times or 3 times, almost to 35%. So kudos to our crew. We also conduct yearly training for our field staff just to help them identify potential pollutants and how to utilize their spill kits that every vehicle in the city has. So we find that very important to do as well. Controlling runoff from construction sites. We're ramping up a lot more from COVID. We had 86 construction projects that were approved through our civil engineer and stormwater. And last year we conducted 116 erosion control inspections, and from those erosion control inspections, there were 17 enforcement items. This is typically when we're driving by and we see a silt fence down, we see sediment on the roadway. We'll stop, take a picture, call the contractor, say, hey, please come and fix this. That's that. Oh, and then like exposed soil during these rainy months, we were getting a lot of heavy rain, which is leading to a lot of scouring on some of these job sites. So we like to just be as active as possible and making sure these don't get too out of hand. For operations and maintenance, we have a 6-member stormwater crew, and they yearly are required to inspect all of the public facilities, which include, these kind of include our ponds, our vaults, our wetlands, not the catch basins, but of these 241 facilities, all 241 were inspected, which is great. It's actually a requirement. And of those 241, we did conduct maintenance on 21 facilities. Additionally, part of operations maintenance, we do have 5,068 total public catch basins in the city, and we like to inspect 100% of those on a bi-yearly basis. So in 2022, you can do the math, 5,068 minus 1,778. I can't do that, but we inspected whatever that number is in 2022. Last year, we inspected 1,778 catch basins, and of those, 454 required a maintenance of some kind, which typically would be sediment buildup. Sometimes they need to remud or there's some cracking, but our crew is really good on staying on top of that. And then we have a SWIP, which is another one of our acronyms, which is Stormwater, I did this wrong. Stormwater, what did pollution? I put population. Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan. So on a quarterly basis, we go out and inspect both our maintenance and storage facilities. We check several basins just to make sure that there's no turbidity in the water, no sign of an illicit discharge. These are the basins that leave the city-owned parcels, which is a good indicator of anything going on within the parcel. So we do that on a quarterly basis, and then at the end of the year, I send a report to the maintenance superintendent. And as I've told him the last 2 years, he's just getting better and better, steady improvement. I go looking for paint cans left in the elements, not good. Dumpster lids left open, not great. But he's doing a really good job. iPad integration and inspection tracking. It's one of the ways that our field crew communicates with our office engineers, and they do that through a program called CityWorks. So you'll see our stormwater maintenance crew out in the field with these tablets, and it's their way of integrating all of their inspections to the office engineers on their PCs, where we see their inspections, we go through and make any corrections, or if they need to do work orders for maintenance, then that's what happens there. And we'll get into the weeds more of that. It looks like there is an operations and maintenance environmental committee meeting scheduled for May, so I'll probably be here for that. Source control and for existing development. Last year was our first year with the source control program as required by the NPDES permit. Again, you'll see BEA and environmental there. One of the requirements was we had to inspect 20% of businesses that were deemed possible pollutant creators. I guess that might be the best way of putting it. And so that amounted to 40 businesses in the Des Moines area. So we didn't really know how to go about picking like for like gas stations, 40 gas stations. Des Moines doesn't have that, so we just decided to just pick an area. And so we just did Marine View Drive and businesses to the west, which worked really well, and sounds like BEA appreciated that. But they conducted those 40 business inspections from June to October. They got great feedback. They did site visits and inspected all of their private facilities, and there were a couple incidences where some of their catch basins needed to be cleaned and maintained, and BEA worked with them to find like King County resources where they wouldn't have to clean it themselves, but they could get a credit. And something they were proud of, and I am too, they were able to engage just because they have a very, I don't know what you call it, bilingual crew. They were able to support Mandarin, Vietnamese, Thai, Spanish, and Hindi owners, as well as English. So that's the foundation we set for last year, and we're going to build it into this year. I guess I'm not supposed to give an update for this year yet, but yeah, that pretty much is a recap for 2023.
Yeah, thank you, Michael, and that concludes the staff report on this item.
Questions? Okay, I may take a shot at a couple of things. So at a high level, into the weeds a little bit, the general maintenance is bringing out on a catch basin is bringing out the sucker truck, right? I mean, like for sediment and that sort of.
Yeah, the Vector truck.
Okay, I'm
Correct.
sorry, that's what.
No, sucker truck works.
No, that's what we used to. So basically, let's see, how much of these requirements have increased from last year to this year? Because it's not, I mean, there has been a ramp up of requirements, right? So, I mean, how much of this is new for this year as you get closer to the target for the program? Do you understand what I'm asking?
I absolutely know what you're asking, and we're going to share that in the next item.
Okay.
Exactly the difference between 2023 and 2024.
I'm so sorry. Okay.
I can answer your question in a more general perspective that sort of the general feedback from phase 2 municipalities, so us and our neighbors, is that ecology is very aggressive in their requirements on us, and there's a lot of pushback for cities and counties not having the resources to keep up with these increased requirements at this speed. So we're, again, monitoring what's coming in the next permit, and we'll share that and how that will have an effect on staff needs, staff and monetary demands on our department.
That's what I'm driving at, because it didn't seem like a linear thing when this started. It was like we have these goals and everything, and now I'm not trying to say it's like cramming, the night before the test, but it's basically, it seems like the requirements are, increasing, and you're getting,
Yeah.
I'm just
So,
looking at how
There's a
much,
saying out there in our community, and I won't have a stance on this, but they say the Clean Water Act wasn't meant to tell an owner what kind of driveway they should have when they originally wrote the Clean Water Act. So that's just by way of saying how much it has changed from the original writing of the Clean Water Act to what it's controlling now. It can dictate what your driveway is.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to get at this in terms of like, just resources, and.
Absolutely.
How many comments have you received so far, just out of curiosity? I mean, do you know, I don't know, have you received public comments yet?
We have not, but that's one of the motivations of having this on the agenda tonight, is to seek more comments from the public and to advertise that during full council, during committee report.
Cool, and, for now, because you could go on. So when you have like the Des Moines Creek Basin Plan, that is a multi-agency kind of a thing, right? I mean, you're cooperating with still the port and Midway Sewer, and I mean, so in other words, was the current program that you targeted, was it based on the fact that we kind of have control over, I'm trying to think about, like, so in the south end of town, you've got Lake Haven. We have all these special purpose districts. Does it get more challenging when you have these other basins where it's like a multi-agency kind of a thing?
It does, but there's also the flip side of that, where there's more opportunity for joint resources, collaboration, et cetera, when coming together. I can tell you that it wasn't a factor in the selection, other than there's a factor of what % the basin is within our bounds.
Yeah.
For example, Cold Creek, we have like 2% within Des Moines. 98% is upstream Federal Way, so that eliminated Cold Creek from being a basin we selected based on how much we can affect it.
Okay.
So we didn't really judge it by how much partner interaction there was.
This was the highest value target for you.
This was the target that, through all of our inputs, came out needing historical improvement for water quality, for flow control, and for opportunity that we have with existing projects we can piggyback on, like the Barnes Creek culvert replacement that just got completed. We have downtown water quality initiatives, like the 223rd Green Street project that may get funding. We have improvements on 6th and 7th in the TIP that may come to fruition in this 9 to 20 year time frame. And just a network of ponds that needed help. For example, what we call Taco Time Pond, Marine View Drive and KDM intersection.
Yeah. I just remember from a couple of years ago, you have the plants that provide the filtration, and they were starting to get dead looking and so on.
Correct.
Okay, thanks. So you've got something else to talk about.
Yeah, so our next item is the 2024 Stormwater Management Program Plan. And so we just talked about 2023. This is all about 2024. And the plan, this is part of the MPDS requirements Ecology puts on each jurisdiction, but they want us to develop a plan. Here's the draft plan in front of us that highlights what are the planned actions you have for the year. And to go out and get public comment and to share with Ecology how we're going to tackle their requirements. So I guess by way of intro, at a high level, we're going to do all the things we're doing. There's a few changes we're making for 2024, which Michael will cover. Sneak peek, adopt a drain, that we'll cover that there. But not much else is changing. We're going to do a lot of the programs in this year that we just talked about in the last presentation. Stormfest is going to continue. We're going to continue to inspect construction sites the same way we were doing O&M, et cetera, et cetera. We like what we're doing. It's successful. We're making improvements to our minor improvements to each program year after year as we get new technologies and just continue to perfect those. So the report, we're not going to go through it page by page, line by line. You're going to read exactly what we just went through, and that's what we're committing for this year. So what I would say before Michael shares the few things that we are changing for 24 is we do want to engage the public on this. So we sent City Current article out in this last edition, encouraging folks to come to our website and comment on this. All the comments come to me directly. But this is another opportunity, is to share that out at the dais to anyone watching, listening in the audience, that this is open for public comment. And we want to hear back on how can we improve these programs. How do individuals want to be involved? What are we missing? What are we not seeing for water quality? Yeah, absolutely. That's just something I would encourage everyone to share, that's open, and that's open until the end of this month when our report is due to ecology. We'll finalize it, but it's a living document. So we're always hearing feedback. Just putting that note out there. So I'll pass it to Michael. He'll share a few things that we're changing in 2024.
Yeah, a few things means three. I have 3 items, but before that, this is the last year of the permit. So so it ran from 2019 to 2024. So I got in right at the end of it. So this is going to be a whole new experience, receiving a whole new permit. There's a bit of pushback that I'm seeing just from our regional groups. Some changes that I don't want to speak to now because they're subject to change. But this is the last year of the permit. The 3 items that I did pull out of the SWIP, the Stormwater Management Program. One is small. Stormfest is the 4th, 5th, and 6th of June. Maybe a plug, we're really looking for volunteers. If you all know anyone, let us know. They can also go to the website or they can contact me directly. One of the larger ones is our dumpster outreach group. It was a regional effort, and I don't know what you want to call it, the regional chair, she stepped down. So that group sounds like it's disbanding, but I am trying to work with BEA to make it more of a local effort. And we had a meeting with BEA Environmental recently, and we're hoping to rework our spill kit program for behavior change, creating a new template for questions for a pre-survey and post-survey, just to see how the businesses are responding to the spill kits and the education that BEA is providing. So that's still up in the air what that's going to look like. But the big one for me is I brought Adopt a Drain to the city of Des Moines, which is similar to the Storm Drain Volunteer Program. It is a volunteer program brought through Hamlin University. It is a very turnkey program. They pretty much said, we'll set it up for you, just send us your GIS information. So that's what I did. And it launched in January, very slow start. Right now we only have 12 signees. They're all coming up with very creative names, as you're aware. But I'd love to build this out more. Before coming here, just right before coming here, I had a citizen reach out, and her 156 member community would like to start adopting trains. I don't know what that means or if it will come to fruition, but I'd be ecstatic if it did. It'll look really good on the report next year. But those are the 3 items that I pulled from the SWIP that are changes. The rest is just business as usual.
Yeah, and I'll just add, one reason we started a new program was because, as you saw in our last update, we only had 1 volunteer for our drain marker program, and that's sort of aged out, where we accomplished the job. We marked every drain we had available that was safe to mark for the public, And it's, like Michael said, in a maintenance mode. We're just cleaning up gaps now where they might have fallen off. So we wanted to start something new, fresh, and engaging for the public to come in. And this is a regional program. I don't know the cities themselves, but there's probably a handful that are engaging in this as well throughout the Puget Sound region. So we're happy to be part of that. And yeah, I'm happy Michael brought that to our attention. So with that said, that concludes this item. Again, it's fairly brief, but wanted to get this in front of the council.
Councilmember Grace Matsui.
I'm just gonna try and move that a little closer.
For what it's worth, I have been assured by our IT person that the mic can be like a few feet away and it picks up. I mean, it's, go for it, but.
I'm wondering around the adopt a drain, which I'm fairly excited about. If there are certain intersections or neighborhoods or places where you have chronic issues that maybe you could focus in on, like not everybody's street needs help with that, but maybe if you went in and said, hey, this particular intersection needs a lot of help and you can help us do that by adopting a drain. That might be a way to focus instead of trying to invite the whole city, but just an idea.
Yeah, that's a good point. One of the issues I ran into talking to other municipalities, because I had every catch basin, every public catch basin available for adoption, and when some of the municipalities looked at it, they said, "Well, that's a safety hazard, KDM and whatnot." So a lot of the drainage issues we have, aside from North Hill, North Hill could have all the all the drains adopted, but a lot of arterial roads are the ones that have the major drainage issues, and I actually took all those off just for safety. But that is worth looking into if there's any non-arterial areas, and just maybe highlight those as areas to be adopted.
Yeah, and I'll just add that if there are areas, it's areas that with a lot of tree canopy where we get in the fall leaves. That is the largest area where we would need public help on basins, because it's just any city tackling leaf fall at scale is, I'm going to say, impossible with the volume of leaves coming down, and it's so easy for a single drain to get clogged. But to respond directly to your question, on the other side of that is we wanted it to be available for the public to have ownership of that basin. So if it's right in front of their house, we wanted them to be able to find that and adopt that and can have pride over that guy right there, that's mine.
Right.
So there may be a way to highlight sections that need extra help, but we wouldn't want to eliminate ones that are available if someone was really passionate about a specific drain.
Thank you.
So, Councilmember Oxiger, I just didn't want you to. Let's see, a couple of things. How complete would you say that the inventory is of all of the different stormwater stuff? You've mentioned it's sort of an ongoing kind of a thing, and I'm always just struck by how, like, yeah, you would think that by now, I mean, I'm not trying to be, but yeah, so any estimate on?
Yeah, I would say for our public infrastructure, we're probably around 95% complete mapped. And then for the private infrastructure, 60 to 70%.
Okay, good. That's actually higher than I thought. So what would a Stormfest volunteer be asked to volunteer specifically? What would they be tasked with?
We're so desperate, we'll take whatever we can. No.
What would they be? What are we asking of them to do?
There's a couple options. You can volunteer to just to help someone like me make sure things are organized. I mean, there's simple tasks like make sure the water's filled for the students, make sure the trash is picked up. But there's also stations that individuals can volunteer for. Education, yeah. And like last year, we had one of our stormwater civil engineers volunteer because we're so short. He did it, and we thank him for it. But ideally, we'd love to find more volunteers, and we definitely we'll find a spot for you if you volunteer.
Yeah, no, I'm just, people will say, well, what do I have to do if I show up?
Yeah, and I'll just add that for the education and the educators, there's a whole training day to come in before the event, so you know what you're teaching the kids, and it's a whole day of like a training seminar.
Okay, and a couple other little things. So we have an ARC-GIS, however you pronounce it. I mean, but you do a separate mapping function from our GIS technician. I'm just getting a sense that that's like another real job as part of that.
Yeah, I mean, I can describe that a bit. So we do have a GIS technician, Max Mousseau, who administrates the program.
Okay.
Then we have Michael's position and those at his level that map the assets, that do the work on the program.
Okay.
So
Yeah, no, I'm sorry if that's.
more's like, one's kind of IT and one's more implementing.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Collecting let's see if there's what are the odds of getting those King County lovely people out I mentioned it last time. I can just tell you the public really likes hearing about the sampling they're doing. You mentioned the zero poo thing, and but they come to Redondo. That would really, if you want to get more public engagement, that's just, I'll come back to that.
Yeah, no, a very high likelihood, and that's on our radar now for when that opportunity presents itself to engage with that, and that's something realistic. I should add that's a real opportunity we can engage with King County on and see how we can. There's already so many different programs we're partnering with the county on that's the opportunity is there to make that connection for.
Yeah, no,
Yep.
I nag, that's what I do. And just round, just because, how many people, person hours, I mean, is there a way to quantify how much work is going into this, getting into this last year of the permit versus previous years? I probably asked that before, but I'm just trying to get an overall sense of just
Yeah,
the
so
resources. And if you don't have it now.
I have a broader answer. Between our last permit cycle, so the previous 5-year permit cycle, and today's permit cycle, about 1 FTE in engineering and 1 FTE on maintenance crew. And that was identified in our comp plan. So 2 positions,
And,
full-time.
no, that would be two. I think that's it for me. Anything else from my colleagues?
Thank you very much for your presentation.
Anything else you wanted to talk about? I had one other little thing, but
I'll make a brief note since you asked. Councilmember Ottiger, I know you've asked a few occasions how we could potentially expand Stormfest to our missing school. We did reach out on that topic and learned that short answer, no. Maybe next year we can look at Stormfest in the long term and adjusting the boundary. But we did learn of existing programs we're contributing as a city to for private schools and Woodmont Elementary called Beach Heroes and Salmon Heroes through the Environmental Science Center in Berrien. They reach out to these schools. They have the choice to take up the opportunity, but basically they send staff in there to do day seminars and teach the kids about these. So we made the note to please reach out to these schools again and make an emphasis with those programs. So I just wanted to add that note that we are making maybe not the same effort, but still an effort with a different program for those schools. And like I said, 2025, we can see what we can shift Stormfest to, just to make sure I follow back on your comment.
yeah, there's I just see the Friends of Saltwater State Park, they'll try to do educational things, and I'm just somehow, yeah. So this is not about this particular thing, but just more generalized. There was this, it looked like some sort of oil spill last month, I think. I don't want to misrepresent the contents, but out at like D dock or something, and did that get, it sounded like you were able to identify the source, sort of, or how did that ever turn out?
Yeah, Michael had a busy week, so I'll let him share.
Yeah, because I'm trying to get a sense of the process, and I was impressed that you were able to, sort of trace that back a little.
It took longer than expected, but we did track it up a 20 basin system to 25th and 6th. I want to say it's 25th, to 25th and 6th, and it was a leaking PSE ground transformer, and it just saturated the ground, and we potholed and found that it compromised. I'm assuming it compromised. I can't say for sure, but it might have compromised our corrugated aluminum pipe, and it was just flooding into our system. So once we found that out, I contacted PSE, and they put a geotechnical engineer on it, and they're still assessing it. I would really like them to clean the whole system and do some soil mitigation, but it sounds like it's more of a legal process at this point. So they do have the measures in place. As you can see, they put a very nice boom out there, but I'm still in communication. It's unfortunately ongoing. I'm talking to Ecology on a weekly basis and giving updates. I'm hoping it's a week away from being resolved.
So what is it? I mean, what?
It's mineral oil.
They use it to insulate the transformers.
Correct, yeah.
It just turns black.
Well, we were having a lot of trouble identifying it because usually, we'll see a sheen and it's engine oil or something like that. Mineral oil is kind of bizarre. It was just, when you poke it, it creates a sheen, but it was just this almost like baby oil just on the surface of the water. And yeah, that created a headache for a good 3 weeks, and it's technically still a headache, but I'm hoping there's resolution in sight.
So in 25 words or less, I mean, how do you trace that back to the source?
Well, a lot of time.
No, I mean, but it's like just inspection cameras and just.
We were pulling lids, and then when we got to about a 50-foot stick of pipe, we even had we had Midway come out, and they had one of their pipe crawler cameras go up, but there was so much debris we couldn't figure out what was going on, and it ended up being the debris coming in from above the pipe because the pipe was compromised. And so at that point we decided to pothole, and that's when we found just a saturated soil, and PSE came in and switched out their transformer at that point.
Well, darn.
Agreed.
Is there any mechanism for, that may be too much to ask, but basically, for mitigation and so on, and just, to compensate for all your hard work, or is that the legal?
I hope so, but that's probably more of a Tyler question.
Yeah, I mean, that's what Michael's referring to when it's ongoing and working with Ecology, and pushing PSE to come and clean our pipes, to come and remove that contaminated soil and work through the mechanisms that exist.
Okay, no, I guess what I'm
And-
getting at, apart from that, is just essentially identifying the contamination into any kind of surrounding. I mean, is that something you're fairly, is a fairly well-understood process to make sure it doesn't seep this way as opposed to this way as opposed to that way?
Correct, yeah, it's fairly isolated within the stormwater system. Downstream, unfortunately, once it gets to the marina, it's harder to
Yeah, no.
corral, and then,
I know I'm getting into the weeds,
Yeah.
of just mineral oil's a heavy product.
1 minute left.
Okay, so, thank you, anything else? Then in that case, I will, ask for a motion to adjourn our meeting.
I move to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Yes, he said it.
So, okay. Then, all in favor?
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned.